then leave. It's weird behavior. I'm not saying people can't take pictures. Welcome to Shawn Thinking Out Loud. This one's going to be a little different. No, I'm not quitting politics. I'm not turning this into a cooking channel. I'm not suddenly becoming one of those soft-voiced internet people who tells you where to breathe through your feelings while sitting in front of a fake plant in a bookshelf arranged by color. That's not happening. This is still me. But I've been thinking that lately that maybe once a week I need to take the podcast away from politics and the daily circus, just one episode a week where I kick back a little bit and talk about life. Training, Brazil, writing, old television, food, the podcast itself, whatever happens to be rattling around in my head that day. Because politics matters. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. What happens in government matters. What happens in the courts matters. What happens with free speech, taxes, wars, crime, censorship, elections, all of the rest of it matters. But man, you can only stare into a dumpster fire for so long before you start smelling like smoke. And I think that's where a lot of people are now. They wake up, grab the phone, open the apps, and before they even brush their teeth, they're already mad. Some politician lied, some activist said something stupid, some news outlet is pretending a press release is journalism, some millionaire on television is lecturing working people about hardship, some blue-haired sociology experiment with a ring light is explaining why reality is problematic. And everybody starts the day irritated. That's not healthy. That's not normal. That's not how people are supposed to live. So once in a while, I think it's good to step back and remind people there's still a world outside the comment section. There's still training, there's still family, there's still food. There's still old TV shows that were written by people who apparently understood human beings better than half the people writing television today. There's still books to write, there's still gyms to go to, there's still dumbbells being used as background props by people taking mirror pictures instead of lifting them. There's still life. So that's what this episode is. This isn't a news episode. It's not a political breakdown. This is just me reading an article and asking why there appears to be no adult supervision anywhere. This is personal. It's me rambling a little bit, talking about what's going on in my life, talking about training, Brazil, old TV, the podcast, the books, the Dragon Kempo 2.0 system, family stuff, and the weird little things you notice when you stop yelling at the internet for 5 minutes. And I know when people say personal, they usually mean emotional. That's not really how I'm built. I don't sit around trying to access my inner child. My inner child is probably outside somewhere throwing rocks at cans and telling people to quit whining. I'm not good at emotional confession. I don't really do that. I could talk about things that matter. I could talk about discipline. I could talk about family. I could talk about frustration. I could talk about getting older and still training. I could talk about life changing. But I'm not going to turn this into some fake therapy session with a microphone. That's not me. I think personal for me means honest. It means I tell you what I'm actually doing. It means I talk about what I actually think. It means I don't pretend to be more dramatic than I am. It means I don't fake emotions because the internet rewards people for having a breakdown in public. So this episode is personal, but it's personal in my way. No soft lighting, no sad piano music, no dramatic pause where I stare at a window and pretend I'm in a documentary. Just a guy in Brazil, training karate at 57 years old, writing books, building podcasts in PowerPoint, watching old television, dealing with family stuff, and trying to keep his channel from getting dinged by the moderation gods who apparently live in a basement and hate context. So let's talk about it.
Every time I tried to stand, they pushed me down. Now I've had enough, can't take it all around. It's time to be strong, time to be clear. No more being used, it's time to repair. No more Mr. Nice Guy, I'm through. Time to stand up, let the world see. No more being weak, it's time to break. I'm done with the pain, I'll take my place.
I just got back from karate training at the gym, and I'll be back there again in the morning. That's not because I'm trying to prove something to anybody. That's not because I think I'm 25 years old. Trust me, my knees and shoulders have filed multiple official complaints. I'm going back in the morning because my wife can't train at night. So she wants to go out to dinner instead of training at night, so we'll train in the morning. The gym opens at 5 in the morning and stays open until midnight, so there's really no excuse. That's one thing I like about this gym. The hours are wide open. And if you say you don't have time, you probably mean you don't want to make time. And that's fine. Just say that. Be honest. People love to say they don't have time. They have time to scroll. They have time to argue with strangers. They have time to watch 3 hours of videos about people reacting to other people. They have time to take 27 pictures at the gym from 12 angles to prove they went there. But somehow they don't have time to train. Funny how that works. Wore my new belt for the first time tonight, my new black belt. The one with the correct rank on it, the correct names on it, the proper markings. The one that actually reflects where I am now in the system. And I finally got the first little bit of sweat on it. That matters to me. Some people might not understand that. That's fine. Not everything has to be understood by everyone. Civilization really needs to relearn that sentence. A belt is just cloth, sure, but it also represents time. It represents years of training. It represents injuries. It represents repetition. It represents showing up when you didn't feel like it. Represents getting corrected. It represents going back to basics. It represents teaching. It represents learning. It represents all the ugly parts people don't put on the poster. And yes, I'm thinking about wearing my black belt every time I train because I earned it. That's it. That's the whole reason. I earned it. I'm not wearing it because I need people to clap. I'm not wearing it because I need strangers in the gym to be impressed. Most people wouldn't know what it means anyway. Half of them are too busy checking their reflection to know whether they're in a gym or in a phone commercial. I'm wearing it because I put in the time. And here's the thing. I've also decided to start my karate program from the beginning again. The whole thing. Yellow belt through colored belts, brown belts, red belt, black belt, 2nd degree, 3rd degree. I laid it out as a full training path. 120 days for all the colored belts, 6 months for all the brown belts, a year for red belt and 1st degree black belt, 2 years for 2nd degree black belt, 3 years for 3rd degree black belt. So if I stay on track, I should be just about done going through the whole system again around the time I turn 70. And no, that doesn't bother me. Actually, I kind of like it because it gives me a long road. It gives me structure. It gives me something to work through. It gives me standards. And martial arts without standards is just costume exercise. That's one of the things that's always bothered me about the martial arts world. Too many people want the rank without the work. They want the belt without the sweat. They want the title without the repetition. They want to be called master because someone printed a certificate and put a dragon border on it. That's not how I see it. If you're serious about training, you should always be willing to go back to the beginning. Stances, footwork, guard, basic strikes, basic kicks, blocks, kata, movement, timing, balance, distance. You go back and check the foundation because that's where the truth is. The flashy stuff is easy to sell. The basics are what expose you. A person can fake fancy. They can't fake balance for very long. They can't fake structure. They can't fake timing. They can't fake clean movement under fatigue. And they definitely can't fake it when somebody's actually pressuring them. So I'm going to go back through the system, not because I lost the rank, not because I forgot who I am, not because I need permission. I'm doing it because that's what training is. You revisit the basics until you stop being something you know and become something you are. That sounds dramatic, but it's not. It's just repetition. Martial arts people love making everything mystical. Sometimes the secret is just doing the same thing correctly 1,000 times until your legs are tired and your brain is calling you names. That's training. And at 57, I still train every day in my Kempo karate. Every day. That doesn't mean every day is some brutal 2-hour destroy the body session. That's how idiots get injured and then tell everybody they used to train. Some days are hard, some days are technical, some days are kata, some days are footwork, some days are strength and conditioning, some days are just moving through basics and keeping the body honest. But I do something, because discipline doesn't care about your mood. And honestly, that's one of the best things about martial arts. It gives you a place to put yourself. The world can be stupid. People can be annoying. The news can be exhausting. Social media can make you wonder if literacy was a mistake. But training is simple. Show up, warm up, work, correct mistakes, repeat, go home. Come back, no committee required, no hashtags, no emotional support water bottle, just work. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to build more content around Dragon Kempo 2.0, because the system is there. The books are out there. They have pictures, they have descriptions, they have the curriculum, they have the material. Everything a person needs to understand the system is available if they actually want to learn. But I also know video matters. Some people need to see movement. They need to see the stance. They need to see the angle. They need to see the transition from one movement to the next. They need to see how a kata flows. And I've been thinking about putting together a video program for Dragon Kempo 2.0. Maybe yellow belt all the way to 3rd degree black belt. Or maybe I start smaller. Maybe I just teach the basics first. Stances, footwork, blocks, strikes, kicks, basic combinations, guard, movement, then maybe katas. Because honestly, if you can do the katas properly, that's pretty much the system in solo form. That doesn't mean kata teaches you everything by magic. Don't be stupid. Kata isn't a force field. Kata doesn't make you immune to being punched in the mouth. But kata preserves movement. It preserves structure. It preserves combinations. It preserves body mechanics. It gives you a way to train transitions, angles, and patterns when you don't have a partner. And if you understand the applications, kata becomes a library. If you don't understand the applications, it becomes an interpretive karate dance. And I'm not interested in that. I've always believed martial arts needs to be practical. I'm not a tournament guy. I'm not training people to collect plastic trophies. I'm interested in whether the movement makes sense. Can you use it? Can you teach it? Can you explain it? Can you do it when tired? Can you show where it appears in kata? Can you explain why it exists? That's the kind of system I care about. That's the kind of system I want Dragon Kempo 2.0 to be. Clean, practical, structured, trainable. Sometimes a person can work through. Sometimes a person can study. Sometimes a person can teach. And yes, sometimes a person can do, something a person could do alone when they don't have a school nearby. Because not everybody has access to good instruction. Some people live in small towns. Some people are overseas. Some people can't train at night. Some people work weird hours. Some people have kids. Some people are older and don't want to walk into a school full of teenagers doing flying kicks while someone yells energy like that explains everything. So a video program could help, but I have to build it correctly. I have to keep it simple. That's the trick. If I try to film the entire system at once, it'll turn into one of those projects that it collapses under its own weight. People do that all the time. They decide they're going to create the complete, ultimate, total master system of everything, and then 2 weeks later they're exhausted, irritated, and surrounded by half-labeled folders. No, start with the basics, then beginner ranks, then intermediate ranks, then brown belt, then black belt. Build it like training, one step at a time. That's how anything worthwhile gets done. And that applies to the podcast, too. People see the output, but they don't see the system behind it. They don't see the notes. They don't see the slides. They don't see the editing. They don't see the scheduling. They don't see the filtering. They don't see the process. They just see the finished product. That's fine. That's how it works. But whether it's karate, writing, or podcasting, the principle is the same. You build the system, then you work the system. You don't wait for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Motivation shows up late, smells like excuses, and leaves when things get hard. Discipline is better. Discipline is boring. That's why it works. Before we move on, let me take a minute to talk about my Dragon Kempo 2.0 book series. If you're interested in practical martial arts training, kata, structure, application, and a system built around actual usable movement instead of tournament flash, the Dragon Kempo 2.0 series is available on Amazon and Google Play. This isn't a book series about looking cool in a uniform. This is not about collecting trophies. This is not about pretending every attacker politely steps into the correct position so your demonstration looks good. Dragon Kempo 2.0 is built around basics, kata, practical application, body mechanics, transitions, and solo training. The books include pictures, descriptions, curriculum material, and explanations designed to help you understand the system from the ground up. If you train, teach, or just want to study practical Kempo karate in a structured way, check out the Dragon Kempo 2.0 series by Shawn Armstrong. Again, it's available on Amazon and Google Play. Now back to the episode. One of the funny things about training in Brazil is the gym culture. Now, Brazil is a very fitness-conscious country in a lot of ways. People go to the gym, people care about how they look, people walk, people train, people are out. It's not like the United States, where in some places you can practically hear arteries hardening from across the parking lot. And yes, before somebody gets offended, I lived in the United States. I know what I saw. America has a serious food problem. Portion sizes are insane. Fast food is everywhere. People eat like they're preparing for winter and then act shocked when the scale files a complaint. Here in Brazil, it's different. Not perfect. No place is perfect, but different. There isn't a KFC and a Pizza Hut on every corner. And yes, I know, I've got an episode called Fourth Wave Feminism and KFC. That title is funny, but the assessment is serious. Sometimes humor is how you get people to listen long enough for the point to land. That episode has an eagle with a bucket of chicken on it. You kind of have to listen to it. But the bigger point is that environment matters, culture matters, food matters, routine matters. What people normalize matters. If every corner has fried chicken, pizza, burgers, sugar drinks, in giant portions, don't act shocked when the population starts looking like the menu won. In Brazil, you see more people out walking, you see more people at gyms, you see more people caring about their appearance. And again, that can be good or bad depending on how far people take it. Because a gym here can also be a strange place. I went to the gym to train. Apparently, some people went there for a photo shoot with dumbbells in the background. And I don't mean taking one picture. I mean the full production. Stand in front of the mirror, adjust the angle, check the lighting, fix the hair, shift the hips, take the picture, look at the picture, delete the picture, take another picture, tilt the phone, take another picture, move 2 inches to the left, take another picture, pretend to touch a machine, take another picture, post the proof of life online, then leave. It's weird behavior. I'm not saying people can't take pictures. Do what you want to do, but at some point, the gym is supposed to involve training. I know, it's a wild concept. A gym isn't a selfie museum with weights. The dumbbells aren't there as props. The machines aren't part of the stage set. The mirror is there so you can check your form, not so you can study yourself like you're about to be installed in a museum. And I get it. People want to look good. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with that. But looking like you train and actually training aren't the same thing. And the body eventually tells the truth. You take a fake picture, you can't fake work capacity. You can't fake movement quality. You can't fake conditioning. You can't fake skill. You can't fake being able to move when you're tired. That's one of the things I like about karate. It strips away a lot of nonsense. You can have the perfect outfit. You can have the belt. You can have the patch. You can have a social media page. But when it's time to move, you either know what you're doing or you don't. And if you don't, the floor will tell you. The bag will tell you. Your partner will tell you. Your balance will tell you. Your lungs will tell you. Training is honest. People aren't always honest. Training usually is. That's why I keep going back to it. At my age, I'm not training to impress anybody. I'm not trying to be the toughest guy in the room. That's young man's nonsense. When you're younger, you think like that matters. You think you have to prove yourself every 5 minutes. Then you get older and realize most people aren't worth the knee pain. I train because it keeps me sharp. It keeps me moving. It keeps me disciplined. It gives structure to the day. It keeps my system alive. And honestly, it keeps me from turning into one of those old guys who only talks about what he used to do. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want every story to start with, back in my day. Back in my day is fine. I've got plenty of back in my day. I was in the Army for 23 years. I've got back in my day stacks and boxes. But I still want something I'm doing now. That matters, especially as you get older. You need something current, something active, something that proves you're still participating in your own life. For me, that's training and writing and building the podcast and living here in Brazil. And yes, sometimes going to the gym and watching people treat the mirror like it owes them money. My wife is training too, which is good. She can't train at night, so we adjust. That's family. That's life. You figure out what works. If night training doesn't work, you train in the morning. The gym opens at 5, you go at 5. If dinner matters, you go to dinner. You don't make every little thing into a crisis. You adjust. That's something people have lost, the ability to adjust. Everything becomes dramatic now. A minor inconvenience turns into a personal tragedy. A schedule change becomes trauma. Someone has to train in the morning instead of at night, and suddenly we need a support group. No, you adapt, you move, you make the next decision. That's it. Same thing with family. My stepdaughter ended up at the hospital because of her allergies. Her eyes were all red and nasty. I think she used some perfume or oil she shouldn't have used. And I'll be honest, they'll really need to learn to read the ingredients before they put things on if they're allergic. That sounds harsh, but it's common sense. If you know you react to certain things, you have to check. Perfumes, oils, lotions, makeup, whatever. Read the label, ask questions. Don't just put random scented mystery liquid on your skin and hope biology signs a waiver. That's not how allergies work. And I'm not saying that without concern, allergic reactions can be serious. Eye swelling, redness, irritation, breathing issues, skin reactions, all of that can turn into a real problem. So yes, go to the hospital if you need to. Get it treated, take it seriously, but also learn from it. That's the part people skip. They want the rescue, but they don't always want the lesson. And the lesson is simple. If you're allergic, read the ingredients before you use it. This is apparently advanced tactical planning now. But that's life. Some days you're training karate. Some days you're taking family to the hospital because perfume fought somebody's immune system and won the first round. Some days you're building a podcast episode. Some days you're watching people at the gym take enough pictures to qualify for a modeling contract nobody requested. It all goes together. That's what I mean by a personal episode. It's not one big dramatic story. It's the little pieces. Training, family, routine, health, observation, annoyance, humor. That's life. Not every part of it has to be profound. Most of life is just small things stacked on top of each other until one day you realize that's what your life actually is. The morning training, the dinner with your wife, the hospital run, the new belt, the old TV show, the next book, the podcast, the slide, the gym mirror people. That's the material. You don't have to invent drama when real life is already weird enough. Before we continue, let me talk for a minute about my book, Messiah. Messiah is my critical look at the Obama administration. It covers the economy, foreign policy, immigration, Obamacare, government spending, military readiness, welfare dependency, labor participation, and the long-term effects of political decisions that too many people wanted to treat like personality contests. This isn't a fan letter. It's not written for people who need politics spoon-fed to them with slogans and applause signs. It's written for people who want an argument, facts, and a serious look at what happened during that period. If you want a book that challenges the polished version of the Obama years and looks at the research, the record with a sharper eye, check out Messiah by Shawn Armstrong. It's available in paperback. Now let's get back to the episode. I've been watching old Highway to Heaven reruns, and honestly, watching old television makes it real obvious how far a lot of modern entertainment has fallen. That show didn't need constant violence, and it didn't need sex every 5 minutes. It didn't need shock value pretending to be storytelling. It didn't need some character turning to the camera every episode to deliver a political sermon written by a committee of people who think Twitter is real life. It was just good writing, good acting, stories that actually meant something. I was watching an episode with Ned Beatty, and man, he really was a great actor in his time. There was a sincerity to the kind of television that you don't see as much anymore. And I know some people hear that and think, there goes the old guy complaining about modern entertainment. Maybe, but sometimes the old guy is right. Modern television has better cameras, better effects, better sound, better editing, better technology, and somehow a lot of it has worse storytelling. That should bother people, because storytelling is the whole point. You can have the best camera in the world, but if the writing is garbage, all you've done is make garbage in high definition. A lot of older shows understood character. They understood pacing. They understood moral conflict. They understood emotion without having to scream it. They understood that a story could be serious without being miserable. They understand that a character could learn something without giving a speech that sounded like it was copied from a campus pamphlet. Highway to Heaven was sentimental, sure. It could be heavy-handed sometimes. A lot of older TV was. But it had heart. It had structure. It had actors who could carry a scene without explosions, nudity, or somebody whispering dramatically in a dark room for 12 straight minutes. And it had stories about people. Regular people. Families, struggles, regret, forgiveness, pride, loneliness, fear, second chances, things that don't expire. That's why old shows still work. The clothes might be dated. The cars might be dated. The production style might be dated, but human problems don't change that much. People still want to matter. People still want to be loved. People still make mistakes. People still hurt each other. People still need forgiveness. People still get old. People still get scared. People still want to believe their life meant something. Good writing understands that. Bad writing replaces that with noise. We have a lot of noise now. Modern entertainment often feels like it doesn't trust the audience. It has to explain everything. It has to announce every theme. It has to make sure you know exactly what you're supposed to think. It has to insert the message. And then it acts shocked when people don't enjoy being lectured during what was supposed to be entertainment. Imagine that. People don't like paying for homework disguised as a show. Who could have predicted this, other than everyone with a functioning brain? The older shows were different. They could be moral without being smug. They could be emotional without being manipulative. They could be funny without being cruel. They could be serious without being nihilistic. That's a word people throw around, but it fits. So much modern entertainment feels like it hates people. It presents life as ugly, meaningless, corrupt, or pointless. And then people wonder why nobody feels good after watching it. Highway to Heaven wasn't like that. It had problems, but it believed people could be better. That matters. A story that believes people can be better is different from a story that just wants to show you how awful everyone is. Maybe that's why I've been enjoying it, because after dealing with politics, news, social media, censorship, propaganda, and all the daily nonsense, it's nice to watch something that still believes decency exists. Not perfection, decency. There's a difference. Nobody in those old shows was perfect. The stories worked because people were flawed, but the flaws weren't the whole identity. The story wasn't just, everyone is terrible, roll credits. There was usually a lesson. There was usually growth. There was usually a point. I miss that. And I don't think missing that means you're stuck in the past. It means you recognize something good when you see it. That's allowed. You're allowed to say older writing was better in some ways. You're allowed to say practical effects had more charm. You're allowed to say actors used to carry scenes differently. You're allowed to say not every new thing is automatically better just because it's new. People act like progress is automatic. It's not. Newer doesn't always mean better. Sometimes newer means more expensive, louder, dumber, and convinced of itself. That applies to entertainment. It applies to politics. It applies to education. It applies to food. It applies to martial arts. It applies to damn near everything. You have to judge a thing by whether it works. Does the story work? Does the training work? Does the argument work? Does the food taste good? Does the system produce results? That's the test. Not how modern it is. Not how popular it is. Not how many people clapped for it. Does it work? Old television, when it was good, worked because it knew what it was doing. It told stories, gave actors room, it treated the audience like people, and it didn't need to hit you in the face every 5 seconds to keep your attention. That's a lesson a lot of modern creators should learn, but they probably won't. They'll just make the next thing louder and blame the audience when it fails, because accountability is apparently extinct in some zip codes. And that connects back to what I'm doing with the podcast. I've been using more graphics lately. I've been building the episode in PowerPoint. Then I narrate over the slides and put it together just like a little movie. Nothing fancy. I'm not claiming I'm making cinema here. Nobody is confusing my podcast with a Spielberg production. But I don't think it makes the content I think it makes the content more educational and easier to follow than what I was doing before. The slide helps structure the argument. They give people something to look at. They help organize points. They make the episode feel more like a presentation. And honestly, I like that. I hope people like the graphics I've been using. I know there's a few people listening. I see it. You may not listen to the whole thing, but you're listening, and I appreciate that. That matters. When you're making content, especially smaller content, you notice every listener. You notice every view. You notice every comment. You notice when something connects. You notice when people stay. And I'm still waiting for someone to come over and tell me I'm wrong. You want to know why they don't? Because I'm going to ask for specifics. People hate specifics. They love slogans. They love feelings. They love headlines. They love talking points. They love repeating something they heard from someone who heard it from someone who saw a clip from someone who misread an article. But the second you ask them to explain exactly what they mean, suddenly the room gets real quiet. Specifics are where weak arguments go to die. And there I go getting into politics again. See? This is why I need one episode a week where I just ramble like a normal lunatic. But seriously, the graphics are part of me trying to make the show better, one slide at a time. A little cleaner, a little more structured, a little easier to follow. Maybe once in a while I'll start using pictures from Brazil, family pictures, training pictures, food pictures. Maybe just something better to look at in the background while I'm talking, because I don't really use the camera anymore. And let's be honest, nobody needs to sit there staring at my bald head. The world has enough problems. That doesn't need to be one of them. The way I'm doing it now is easier, it's quicker, it lets me put out more content. I'm putting out 4 or 5 episodes a day now, and I'm already scheduled into July with news and political stuff. That's a lot. That takes a system. And the PowerPoint method works. It lets me build the visual structure, narrate it, turn it into something watchable, and keep going. Keep moving. Again, it's like training. Build the system, work the system, improve the system, repeat. Not glamorous, effective. And effective beats glamorous every day of the week. Before we move into the next part, let me mention the next installment in my Civil War series. The next book comes out on August 1st. It's called Lines. This is part of my continuing Civil War series. And if you've been following my writing, you already know I care about history, conflict, loyalty, hard choices, and the people caught inside events bigger than themselves. Lines continues that work. It's not just about dates and uniforms, it's about pressure, it's about division, it's about what people do when the world around them starts breaking into sides. If you enjoy fiction with serious themes, real tension and characters dealing with hard realities instead of clean little textbook summaries, watch for Lines. On August 1st, again, that's Lines, the next installment of my Civil War series. Now back to the episode. One of the things I've had to deal with the podcast is that making content now isn't just making content. That would be too simple. No, now you have to make the content, format the content, filter the content, package the content, schedule the content, and then hope some automated system doesn't decide that your argument violated a rule written by a committee of frightened interns. I'm still running everything through a filter so I don't get my channel dinged anymore. That's the part people don't always see. They hear the final episode, they don't see the cleanup. They don't see the adjustments. They don't see the language changes. They don't see the effort to stay inside the platform rules. And I'm trying to stay inside the rules. That's the funny part. This isn't me just throwing things out there and hoping for the best. I'm actually running the content through a filter based on their own terms of service. So if I follow the rules, clean up the language, avoid the landmines, and still get hit, then the problem isn't the content. The problem is that someone doesn't like the argument. And yes, I know, people throw the word censorship around a lot. Sometimes they use it badly. Sometimes they think moderation means censorship. Sometimes they want to say anything they want with no consequence and then cry when the platform says no. I get that. But there's also a real problem when rules are applied inconsistently. There's a real problem when certain arguments get punished harder than others. There's a real problem when context doesn't matter. There's a real problem when a person can follow the written rules and still get hit because the wrong person or the wrong machine didn't like the conclusion. That's what irritates me. If I break a rule, tell me the rule. If I use the wrong word, show me the word. If I made a claim that violates policy, show me the claim. But don't hide behind vague language. Don't tell me content is harmful without explaining what that means. Don't act like disagreement is danger. Don't turn political arguments into safety violations because somebody's feelings got a bruise. That's why specifics matter. Again, there's that word, specifics. People hate them. Platforms hate them too, apparently. Vague rules are easy to enforce selectively. Specific rules require accountability, and accountability is inconvenient. It's amazing how often institutions become allergic to accountability right after gaining power. But this is one reason I like the PowerPoint format. It helps me stay organized. It helps me keep the argument clean. It helps me avoid rambling into something that gets clipped out of context. It gives the episode structure. And when I'm dealing with political topics, structure matters. But this personal episode is different. This one doesn't need to be a court filing. This one doesn't need to be a point-by-point response to a post. This one can breathe a little. This one can just be me talking. That's useful too, because if every episode is a fight, the audience gets tired, and honestly, so does the person making it. I can do politics, I can do arguments, I can do fact-checking, I can do counters, I can do propaganda breakdowns, I can ask people for specifics until they suddenly remember they have somewhere else to be. But I don't want the whole show to become one long reaction to idiots. That gives idiots too much control. At some point, you have to make something that isn't just a response. That's true in content. That's true in life. If all you do is react, you're not steering anymore. You're just being dragged around by whatever nonsense appears next. That's not how I want to run the podcast. So once a week, maybe I do this: a personal episode, a rambling episode, a normal life episode, a Brazilian episode, a training episode, an old TV episode, a writing episode, something that reminds people there's more going on than politics. And yes, I know I'll probably mention politics. I'm me. Let's not pretend miracles are on the menu. But the main point won't be politics. The main point will be life. Because people need that. I need that too. I don't get emotional about it, but I understand the need. You can't live full-time in outrage. You can't consume political content all day and stay normal. And at some point, your brain starts turning everything into a fight. The grocery store becomes political. The weather becomes political. The neighbor's dog barking becomes evidence of civilizational collapse. And maybe it is. Depends on the dog. But most of the time, you need to step back. Train. Eat dinner. Watch an old show. Talk to your wife. Work on your book. Go to the gym. Make coffee. Walk outside. Do something real. The internet isn't reality. It affects reality, unfortunately, but it's not reality. And too many people have forgotten that. They think the comment section is the world. It isn't. The world is outside. The world is your family. The world is your health. The world is your work. The world is your habits. The world is what you do when nobody is clapping. That's one of the real reasons I like training so much. Nobody online can do your push-ups for you. Nobody online can make your stance better. Nobody online can sweat for you. You either train or you don't. That kind of direct reality is good for people. It cuts through the noise. And writing does something similar. When you're writing a book, the page doesn't care about your excuses. You either put words down or you don't. You either finish the chapter or you don't. You either revise or you don't. The book doesn't care how you feel. The book just sits there waiting. Rude, honestly, but useful. That's what I've always liked about work that produces something. Training produces skill. Writing produces books. Podcasting produces episodes. Cooking produces food. Real work has a result, and that result tells you something. It tells you whether you did the work. It tells you whether you finished. It tells you whether you improved. That's better than just talking about what you're going to do. People love talking about plans. They love announcing plans. They love making posts about plans. They love telling people they're about to start. Starting Monday, starting next month, starting after the holidays, starting when things calm down, starting when they get the right equipment, starting when they feel ready. Most people don't need a better plan. They need to start. They need to continue. They need to stop quitting. That's it. Brutal, but true. And I'm saying that as someone who's had to build systems to keep myself moving. Because if I just waited for the perfect feeling, nothing would get done. The books wouldn't get written. The podcast wouldn't get made. The training wouldn't happen. The slides wouldn't be built. The videos wouldn't be scheduled. You have to make the system simple enough that you can do it even when you're not in the mood. That's how I'm treating the podcast now. PowerPoint slides, narration, graphics, filter, schedule, move to the next one. It's not magic, it's workflow. And somehow workflow became a secret ancient art because people would rather buy productivity apps than actually produce anything. But the system's working. The show is getting cleaner. The episodes are getting easier to follow. I'm producing more, and now I'm thinking about adding a personal episode once a week to keep it from becoming nothing but political combat. That's a good change. Not because politics is unimportant, because life is larger than politics. And if you forget that, you become the kind of person you can't have a conversation without dragging every subject back to the same 5 arguments. Nobody wants to be trapped with that guy. Or if they do, they need help. Before the last segment, let me take one more minute to talk about the books. I'm an author. That's not a hobby label. That means I write, finish, publish, and keep moving. My books are out there for people who want them. The Dragon Kempo 2.0 series is available for martial artists who want practical structure, kata application, and a complete system they can study. Messiah is available for readers who want a critical look at the Obama administration and the long-term consequences of those years. My Civil War series continues with Lions, coming August 1st. And there's more work coming. Writing is not glamorous most of the time. It's just sitting down, doing the work, fixing the work, and then doing it again. But if you care about books, history, martial arts, politics, or practical instruction, check out my work. Again, the books are by Shawn Armstrong. You can find them on Amazon, Google Play, and wherever they're available. Now let's finish this episode. I'm 57 years old. That's not ancient, but it's old enough that your body starts sending memos. You don't recover the same way. You don't sleep wrong and just shake it off. You sleep wrong and spend the next day wondering if you were attacked by furniture. Training changes. Priorities change. Your tolerance for nonsense definitely changes. At least mine has. I don't have the patience I used to have for people who talk more than they do. I don't have much patience for people who want credit for intentions. I don't care what you intended to do. What did you do? That's the question. Did you train? Did you write? Did you show up? Did you finish? Did you take care of your family? Did you handle your responsibilities? Did you improve anything? That's what matters. And maybe that's one of the reasons I keep coming back to training and writing. They're both honest. They don't care about excuses. They don't care about image. They don't care about your self-esteem. If you skip training, you skipped training. If you don't write, the book doesn't get written. If you don't record, the episode doesn't exist. Simple. I like simple. Not easy, simple. There's a difference. Easy means it doesn't cost much. Simple means the rules are clear. Training is simple. Writing is simple. Podcasting, at least the way I'm building it now, is simple. That doesn't mean any of it's easy, but I understand the process. And at this point in life, I value that. I value routine. I value structure. I value knowing what I'm doing tomorrow. Training in the morning, working on content, writing, spending time with family, watching something decent if I can find it. Trying not to lose faith in human intelligence every time I open the internet. That's a full day. And living in Brazil has changed the rhythm of my life too. I moved here for a reason. Actually, I moved here for several reasons. Some serious, some funny, some probably involving KFC. But being here gives me distance. Distance from the United States. Distance from the daily cultural nonsense. Distance from some of the things I was tired of. That doesn't mean Brazil is perfect. Don't be childish. No country is perfect. Brazil has problems, real problems. But my life here works. My wife is here. My family is here. My routine is here. My training is here. My work is here. My podcast is here. And I like that. I like having a life that's not built around trying to impress people I don't respect. That's another thing that comes with age. You stop caring about certain audiences. Not everybody gets a vote. Not everybody's opinion matters. Some people aren't critics. They're noise with thumbs. And once you understand that, life gets easier. You don't have to answer every idiot. You don't have to respond to every bad faith comment. You don't have to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You can just do the work. That's what I want this next phase to be. Do the work, train, write, record, teach, build the Dragon Kempo 2.0 material, keep improving the podcast, keep producing books, keep living my life, and maybe once a week step away from the political cage match and talk about the rest of it. Because the rest of it matters. This episode is a good example. Nothing here is one giant dramatic event. It's just life. Karate training, a new belt, a gi that's a little small, morning training with my wife, my stepdaughter to hospital for allergies, old Highway to Heaven reruns, Ned Beatty being a great actor, Jim Mirror people doing photo shoots, PowerPoint podcast graphics, books, Brazil, censorship filters, a bald head that doesn't need to be on camera. That's real life. And honestly, that's probably more relatable than another 10-minute clip of some politician saying something stupid. Those clips have their place. I'll still do them, but I don't want to become a person who only talks about what he's against. That's a trap. You need to know what you're for, too. I'm for discipline. I'm for training. I'm for family. I'm for honest writing. I'm for clear arguments. I'm for practical martial arts. I'm for good storytelling. I'm for old TV shows that had some heart. I'm for building something instead of just complaining. I'm for asking for specifics. I'm for people doing the work. And I'm for taking a break once in a while before the daily circus turns your brain into ash. That doesn't mean checking out. It means staying human. Or at least my version of human. Again, let's not oversell the emotional range here, but people need more than outrage. They need habits, they need standards, they need routines, they need something physical. They need something creative. They need something that belongs to them. That's what training gives me. That's what writing gives me. That's what this podcast is starting to become. It's not just commentary. It's a body of work. Episode by episode, slide by slide, book by book, training session by training session. That's how you build anything. Not all at once. Not by talking about it. Not by waiting for the perfect conditions. You build it by doing the next piece. Tonight I trained. Tomorrow morning I'll train again. The new belt got sweat on it. The system starts again from the beginning. The podcast keeps moving. The books keep coming. The old TV keeps reminding me that good writing used to matter. Brazil keeps being Brazil. The gym mirror people keep proving that some folks can turn anything into a photo shoot, and I keep doing what I do. That's enough for one episode. So that's the episode. No big political breakdown today, no article, no scandal, no shouting into the void about some new example of government stupidity, media dishonesty, or online brain rot. Just life, training, family, writing, Brazil. Old television, podcasting, a black belt with fresh sweat on it, and the idea that maybe once a week, it's good to step away from the daily fight and talk like a normal person for a little while. Or at least my version of one. I hope you like the graphics I've been using lately. I've been building these episodes in PowerPoint, narrating over the slides, and putting them together almost like little movies. Nothing fancy, but I think it makes the content more educational and easier to follow. I may start using more pictures from Brazil, training, family, food, or whatever fits the episode. And no, I probably won't be using the camera much. Nobody needs to stare at my bald head while I talk. That's not content. That's a hostage situation. For the people who do listen, I see you. There are a few of you out there. You may not listen to the whole thing, but you're listening, and I appreciate that. And if someone wants to come over and tell me I'm wrong, that's fine. Just bring specifics. Because slogans are cheap. Feelings are easy. Specifics are where the truth starts showing up. Check out my books if you're interested in martial arts, politics, history, or my fiction work. The Dragon Kempo 2.0 series is available on Amazon and Google Play. Messiah is available in paperback. And the next installment of my Civil War series, Lines, comes out August 1st. Until next time, train if you train, write if you write, take care of your family, and read the ingredients before you put mystery oil on your face. And remember, there's still a world outside, the comment section. This has been Shawn Thinking Out Loud. I'll talk to you next time.